90s kids know that Nickelodeon was more than just Dora the Explorer. One of the fine gems it had created is a horror anthology with the Twilight Zone vibes called Are You Afraid of the Dark? The moment the eerie music kicked in and the match was struck to light the campfire, the audience knew something unforgettable was on its way. The Midnight Society became more than just a source of good horror tales, it was also a group of friends who faced the same real-life issues as many others. Before we dive deeper into this amazing world, kindly take a moment to click the like and subscribe buttons to support our channel. Now let's explore how this show became a cult phenomenon, only to fade into obscurity, only to reappear in a modern avatar magically. The origins of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Ned Candle and DJ McHale's brainchild, Are You Afraid of the Dark, created waves back in the 1990s in the world of television series. It was pitched under the title Scary Tales and was intended to be fairy tales with a twist. However, the creators redesigned it into something spookier. Nickelodeon initially passed, but eventually loved the concept and decided to give it a chance under a different title that fit their vibe. This children's horror anthology then aired on the channel's SNCC programming block from August 15, 1992 to February 3, 1996. The pilot episode of the series, The Tale of the Twisted Claw, was aired for the first time on YTV in Canada on October 31, 1990. The same episode was also aired as a Halloween special alongside Mystery Magic Special, a Halloween-themed American program on Nickelodeon on October 25, 1991. The series centered around the Midnight Society, a group of teenagers who gather at a mysterious location situated deep in the woods when the moon rides the dark sky. Every episode, sitting around the campfire, equipped with midnight mist, each member would tell a horror story to the group. The themes of these scary stories were not gory, but revolved around ghosts, demons, haunted houses, magic, witches, iconic vampires and werewolves, and even aliens. Essentially, anything that possessed the ability to instill fear was used in these stories, which often ended with a moral or a twisted conclusion. The inspiration behind these stories were urban legends or public domain stories. For example, a classic short horror story by W. Jacobs, The Monkey's Paw, inspired The Tale of the Twisted Claw. The filming of the series took place in Richmond, British Columbia, Quebec, and Montreal. McHale wanted to create stories about children handling real emotional challenges such as loss, divorce, or bullying. He wrote about individuals who took charge of difficult situations instead of cowering under ghostly threats. The show was diverse, featuring balanced characters, and most importantly, combined meaningful teen drama with scares. Format and storytelling. The format and storytelling of the show were quite unique. When a member began telling a story to the group, it was displayed to the viewers, rather than being presented solely through narration. It was shown between the group's arrival at their secret location and their departure. Every storyteller began their tale with the same opening line, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this story, which was followed by the name of the story. At this point, the group tossed a handful of powder they liked to call midnight dust, which was actually coffee mate, into the campfire. It amplified the flames, producing an eerie white smoke that added to the spookiness, and then the viewers set off on a wild ride. The episodes were filmed in abandoned houses, the woods, or in locations such as libraries or schools, where average teens encountered paranormal phenomena. At times, certain events from the storyteller's life inspired these tales. In The Tale of the Crimson Clown, Tucker used a poem to blackmail Gary, his brother. Poor guy had written it for Samantha. Gary told a story to the group about a mischievous younger brother who was punished for his misdeeds. After listening to this story, Tucker realized his mistake and returned the poem to his brother. The majority of the stories from the show, such as The Tale of the Lonely Ghost, where a deceased child and her elderly mother are reunited, ended on a happy note. But some exceptions, like The Tale of the Dark Music, had twisted or bad endings. In the episode, the invisible monster proposed a deal to the lead character, offering anything he wished in exchange for humans as food. At the end of each episode, Gary or Tucker would often throw a red bucket of water onto the fire and declare, I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed, before the group left the site. The storytelling structure of the show was neat, with each episode having a clear arc, tense pacing, and relatable characters. Since the show handled a variety of themes in the supernatural arena, every episode brought a surprise. Another striking aspect of the show's storytelling was that the protagonists were not flawless superheroes, but rather normal kids with real-life problems before the monster entered the picture. The very concept of campfire storytelling going hand-in-hand with a supernatural tale exemplifies creative genius. The atmospheric visuals, the kind of ritualistic opening and ending of each episode, creative and spooky monsters, and relatable teen struggles not only struck emotional chords, but also sent chills down the spine. And that's why the series remains memorable for many. Cast and characters. Each member of the Midnight Society showed a distinct personality and storytelling trend. Their character and what they found most valuable to themselves are reflected in their stories. In the second generation of the characters, the stories were derived from the events of their daily life rather than from their personal views and interests. Let me introduce you to the original characters of the show, beginning with Gary. He was an unassuming guy with a bookish appearance and was the founder of the first generation of the Midnight Society. Magic, especially that of magician Houdini, fascinated him, which is reflected in his stories that revolve around magical, enchanted objects or curses and how their misuse could result in disaster. The common factor in most of his stories was Sardo, the owner of the shop of magical items. The tale of the Silver Sight revealed that Gary's grandfather was the founder of this unique society and also an inspiration behind his stories. The second member of the Midnight Society was a vibrant girl named Betty Ann. A sucker for the twisted and bizarre, her stories are based on themes where supernatural forces or aliens try to break into the character's world or drag them into their own peculiar realms. Her stories gave Twilight Zone vibes. The protagonists of her stories managed to defeat the evil, yet couldn't escape the danger completely. Every group has that one tomboyish girl who makes fun of the others. Kiki was one such member of the group. Her stories were based on the dangerous consequences of carelessness and the past repeating itself. Since she was African-Canadian, most of the characters she used were of African descent and usually died later in the series. The next member, Frank, was a punkish guy with an in-your-face attitude. His stories featured a recurring character named Dr. Vink as the primary antagonist. The first story he narrated, which also earned him membership in the society, was The Tale of the Phantom Cab. After he moved away with his family in Season 5, a new character, Stig, replaced him. Gary's younger brother was also a part of the Midnight Society and the youngest amongst them. Tucker was an obnoxious person given his young age. His stories involved the journey of family relationships from difficult times to grow stronger amid adversity. This theme might reflect his own relationship with his brother. Another theme he used in his stories was a character unknowingly unleashing evil upon their world. Tucker's an interesting character as he's the only one to appear in both the first and second generations of the society. He took over as president of the Midnight Society after his brother left. This new status also matured him significantly as he tried to emulate his brother's leadership qualities. Another common character we've all likely seen in every group is a shy girl who is a hopeless romantic, often having a crush on one of the male members of the group. Sam was exactly that girl who admired Gary, and guess what? The feelings were mutual. Thus, her stories often had a theme of love, romance, and how it could overcome any challenge, even beyond death. Next comes Kristen, a girl who loved fairy tales and ghost stories. She and David, a quiet boy with a mysterious expression, liked each other more than just friends. What made Kristen distinct from the others was her tactic of dressing up for her stories or bringing something to create that dramatic effect. Her stories always narrated ghosts from the past, who had unfinished business and needed the aid of a living person to complete it. In Season 3, she was replaced by Sam. Her crush, David, was an introvert. His stories were about the unresolved evil of the past or the hidden darkness within people who seemed normal. He too left in Season 3, allowing Tucker to take his spot. Stig was another interesting member of the Midnight Society, considered an outsider due to his lack of personal hygiene. He got to tell only 2 stories before the cast of the show changed. Inspired by his own plight, his stories showcased outsiders scrutinized and judged for their appearance or preferences. There was a character named Eric in the first season for a short time, who was later cut without explanation. He was an Irish, snide, negative, and sarcastic guy who oppressed other members, especially Frank. Let me tell you another interesting fact about the cast of this series. It was basically a launchpad for actors who later became big names in the industry. Can you guess the names? In the Season 5 episode, The Tale of Station 109, Ryan Gosling appeared as Jamie. This teenage version of Ryan locked up his brother Chris in a hearse to break his obsession with death. Another popular name this show has introduced us to is Alicia Cuthbert in the episode The Tale of the Night Shift, released in 1995. She played a shape-shifting vampire kid, and her part was short. However, she returned in 1999 as a main member of the society under the name Megan and appeared in 25 episodes. Other cool names associated with the series, which later became great hits, are Tamara and Tia Mowry, Emmanuel Shrieky, Nev Campbell, Jay Baruchel, Hayden Christensen, and Emily Van Camp. After a break, when the show rebooted in 1999, Daniel DeSanto played Tucker, Vanessa Lengies played Vange, Kareem Blackwell played Quinn, and David DeVoe appeared as Andy. After a 20-year hiatus, in 2019, another reboot of the show was introduced to us as Midnight Society with a fresh cast. Rachel Carpenter led the storytelling, and this character was portrayed by Liliana Ray. Other members included Sam Ash Arnold, who played Gavin Coscarelli, Mia Czech played Akiko Yamato, a bossy girl who loved filmmaking, Louise Fulci was a spunky member of the group played by British actor Tamara Smart, and Jeremy Ray Taylor portrayed the character of Graham Ramey in the reboot. The original series frequently changed members of the group, which sometimes made it difficult for the fans to maintain an emotional rhythm with them. It made it difficult to get connected with one character and understand their personalities. However, it cannot be denied that the show's format was ahead of its time. Revivals and reboots. After many years, in 2019, an announcement was made on February 14th by Nickelodeon that the horror anthology series would be revived and air in October of the same year as a mini-series. On June 10th, the cast was finalized and announced. In addition to the cast of the members of the Midnight Society, Rafael Casal was finalized to play the character of Mr. Top Hat, the Carnival of Doom's ringmaster. Brandon Routh, our beloved Superman, appeared as a guest in part 2 of the mini-series. This revival was a 3-episode, hour-long miniseries. It was directed by Dean Israelite and written by Ben David Grabinski. It finally aired and fulfilled the creators' expectations, achieving successful ratings. The next year, on February 19th, the second season was announced under the title Are You Afraid of the Dark? Curse of the Shadows. The new cast was announced on October 29th, featuring Bryce Geiser, Beatrice Kitsos, Malia Baker, Parker Queenan, Arjun Athalay, and Dominic Marish as the latest members of the Midnight Society. This second season aired on February 12, 2021. Following its successive success, the series was renewed in March 2022 for a third season titled Ghost Island. A batch of fresh cast members joined it, which included Connor Sherry, Chance Hertzfield, Chelsea Hoyen, Dior Goodjohn, and Luca Padovan. Another important character, a hotel manager, was played by Julian Curtis. The third season premiered on July 30th, 2022. Before this revival of the original show, a film adaptation was announced on November 13th, 2017 by Paramount Players in collaboration with Nickelodeon Movies. The release date was set for October 11th, 2019, but unfortunately, that plan went to waste because Paramount removed it from their scheduled releases. As a result, the film was permanently canceled, and thus, we got to see the miniseries. Notable episodes and seasons. The series has undoubtedly given us some memorable episodes, and now we'll revisit some notable ones among them. From the original run, 2 of the most remarkable episodes are definitely The Tale of the Twisted Claw and The Tale of the Silver Sight. Episode 4 was directed by DJ McHale and written by Chloe Brown, titled The Tale of the Twisted Claw. It was a pilot episode that originally premiered in Canada and then in Nickelodeon in the US before it was officially aired as the 4th episode of the first season. It was a wicked take on The Monkey's Paw, in which 2 prankster boys play a prank on an elderly woman on the previous Halloween night. The woman gave them a talisman, a wooden vulture's foot, which the next night granted them wishes, but with terrifying side effects. The Tale of the Silver Sight was the 3rd episode from the 7th season of the series. The aspect that made this episode notable was the entry of Tucker and Gary's grandfather. The mystery unfolded in a scavenger hunt style, with clues and old members. This episode was based on family ties, lore, and a quest vibe. Nearly 2 decades later, the series made a comeback with fresh casts and new stories. Season 1 was released in 2019, called Carnival of Doom, which was a 3-episode miniseries. It had a carnival setting and chilling stories with some new twists. Rachel played the lead, who decided to cut Mr. Top Hat's reign of horror. Season 2, Curse of the Shadows, was released in 2021. The Midnight Society attempts to unravel the mystery of their leader's disappearance, which reveals a sinister curse. Ghost Island was released in 2022. It was about a cursed room 13 of a resort on an island. Guests could check into this room, but never check out. This season had only 4 episodes, but they were very impactful. Why did it fade? Despite having a fresh concept, immersive storytelling, and a lasting impact on young minds, the show's magic faded over time. So what went sideways for Are You Afraid of the Dark? After the original series concluded with approximately 65 good episodes, Nickelodeon introduced seasons 6 and 7 in 1999 to 2000, featuring a new cast. This change completely modified the overall feel, and the chemistry with the characters felt off. The storytelling became less personal. This resulted in a decline in the viewership of these 2 seasons. In the mid-90s, another banger dropped that captivated everyone's attention. Goosebumps was more theatrical, kid-friendly, and scarier, attracting teens who liked a mix of fast laughs and light chills. Whereas Are You Afraid of the Dark was more emotional, psychological, and often gloomier. The tests then shifted to bright lights and goofy monsters, where Nickelodeon's show could not compete. McHale himself noticed a significant shift in the channel's creative domain. It began moving away from drama after the late 1990s, after realizing that comedies were cheaper to make and earned bigger hits. They gradually began deprioritizing the spooky anthology, turning down McHale's follow-up project. Critics were not impressed by the later episodes of the show, and even loyal fans began to lose their connection to it. This was mirrored in the gradually dropping ratings. Another factor that contributed to the downfall of this cult classic was production troubles. Filming at creepy locations was a necessity, yet the crew had to endure the assault from bugs, especially mosquitoes. This problem was so serious that the crew members had to wear beekeeper suits to film some shots. Crazy, really. Canadian laws made it mandatory to block real gravestones with fake ones to avoid any legal trouble, which not only consumed more time and effort, but also added to the production cost and frustration. All these factors, together with weaker scripts, culminated in the end of this legendary saga in 2000. Marvelous verdict. Are You Afraid of the Dark lived its glory days before vanishing into the shadows. Yet it found its way back to us, reviving the nostalgia for 80s and 90s kids. It's proof that great storytelling, a little imagination, and clever scares can give perfect results with enough hard work thrown in. The show not only entertained, but also shed light on the struggles of young kids while highlighting their strength to handle their own problems. And that makes this show stand out. We hope you liked this video. Let us know your fond memories and characters of the show in the comments. You can also suggest topics for our future videos, and we'll see you in the next one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.